Following is a paid advertisement for Yardmaris chainsaw chaps. You will see me run a saw in this video. It's up to you to run a saw at your own risk. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Dustin, and this video is brought to you in part by Yardmaris. Now, I'm going to send you a link in the description where you can go check out these chaps specifically designed for running chainsaw. The less you know about one of these, the more important safety equipment is. And the professionals who run one of those every day never start one without wearing chainsaw chaps. Maybe that puts it in perspective a little bit. If you're not wearing chainsaw chaps, you're kind of cutting corners. You're taking risks. All right, guys, so you see I got my chaps on, got everything adjusted properly. I bought a large, and I'm 6 foot tall, just shy of it, and they're pretty good. Might have went with a smaller size, but I was more concerned waist-wise because I got a 42-inch waist, okay? But works really well. You want them to be a little longer than they are short. So as you can see on the ankles here, they actually bell out around the tops of my boot, but there are 3 straps on the lower portion to keep the lower portion tight to prevent me from, having a problem walking through the brush. They're tight where they need to be, right? But they're loose up here, just loose enough, all right? And then the waistband perfectly tight. There is a small tool pouch and then a long pouch with a removable bottom to remove sawdust and debris out of that pouch when you're done. These are very well built. I've had 3 different sets in the last place that I worked, and these are made with the same quality as what they are, and they didn't have the tool belt pouches on the side. So hey, for the price point, it's going to be really hard to beat these. You can get them in black, gray, or bright orange, depending on what you like. So you can check out the link in the description at any time. All right, let's take a quick look at what I'm doing. So first of all, you can see this is a great big dead red oak, I believe. Anyway, it doesn't matter what it is. It's ugly, and I see it from my house every day, so I can't stand looking at it anymore. I'd prefer it be laying in the vegetation down here. So a few things I'm going to look at. First and foremost, around the tree, where are my escape locations? Okay, obviously there's no vegetation over here. I can just, any route across here, I can just escape at any time, and that's something you want to think about. But before I determine an escape route, I want to look at how the tree lays. So as you can see, the tree goes up, and then there's a limb that shoots off that direction. All right, so the majority of the weight of this tree is actually pointing straight out that direction. All right, I don't want it to go out that direction because that's where my garden is. I want it to go here inside the woods. So I'm not going to make it go 180 degrees very easily, but I can make it go 90 degrees from where the weight is. And that's why I decided to cut my pie cut on the other side straight in line with the wood line right here. Okay, so to do that, I line my saw up just like this. Okay, the mark right here on top of your saw is 90 degrees. So you can look down that mark, and I can look right through there and say that's where I want to drop this tree. Then I created my pie cut. Let's go ahead and knock this out of here. All right, so fairly solid, a little doty, but I didn't hit any voids. All right, so when doing this, I want to come about halfway. On a large tree like this, about halfway would be great. This is probably My 18-inch bar lacked about 6 inches of getting through it, so it's probably 24, 26 inches across. Pretty big tree. And I did pretty decent on the pie cut. It's not specifically perfectly flat, okay, but it's all right. It'll be fine, be safe for what we're doing. Once again, I'm going to stop on occasion and I'm going to look straight up. And you can see right here, that limb right there, all the weight of this tree is pointed that way. But when you look, our pie is perfectly angled that way. So everything's going pretty good. Now's the time I'm going to do a step-in cut, and I'm going to leave a section of the back of this tree for a trigger. The way we do that, you need to have a strong enough saw and enough horsepower to come in right here, either even with your other cut or up 1 inch. Okay, step in a couple inches away. The less experience you have with this and the more meat you got back here, the more room you got to play with. But I'm going to step in and go straight all in across, and I'm going to cut back, and I'm going to leave myself about 4 to 5 inches back here on this big tree. All right, when I'm ready, that's my trigger. That last 4 or 5 inches will be what I will cut last. But I want to make sure that I have all this cut and cleaned all the way across on both sides. Since the tree's bigger than the blade, it will take a minute. It's pretty hardwood and my saw's not perfect. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. We'll be right back. Okay, well, just like all tree cutting, you need to be able to adapt at any time. This tree, I started my back cut or my step cut in, and it hit a void. Couldn't quite tell how big that void was, but I could tell it was pretty deep. I stepped around over here to the other side, and I went ahead and I did my plunge cut and worked back. There was a lot of wood on this side, so I know just from running the saw and diving in that this portion over here is not solid. All right, and you can tell that just by running the saw. So I stopped. I've got a, let's see, my back cut's here, okay, and it goes through to here. So I've only got about 3 inches of material left. And looking at the width of my cut on this side, that means that side of that tree is pretty doty. It's pretty bad, and I don't think I'm going to have any trouble it falling that direction. This little section is called my trigger, and to avoid damage to my phone and give you guys a better angle, let's go back over here. I'll set you up from a safe distance, and we'll go ahead and we'll pull the trigger on this tree. That shouldn't be too bad right there. Here's my wedge. All right, straight across. I probably did cut in there with a little bit with angle on my wedge. Made sure my hinge was really clean. I didn't want to have a block of wood or whatever in there, because if it starts to tip and it hits that block that you didn't get cut out clean, that will roll on you. But like I said, on that side over there, when I did my plunge cut, this portion over here, the saw just dove right in. And you can see the chatter marks there where the saw was just, all this wood is dotied. Now, that's completely rotten and there's voids, but this is completely doty, and my saw went way in here real deep. And I knew that side was really soft. This side over here, see how it's bright red? This is still good wood over here. And all this was holding that tree. My trigger was, on this side was nothing. Yellow and whites, nothing. The only portion that my trigger was holding, right here's where I dove in on this last to cut my trigger. My trigger was only right here. When you're cutting trees that you know are dead, pay very close attention to what your saw is telling you. I don't do this all the time. I've only, I've been trained in it and did it for a little while, but that was a long time ago. I'm out of practice. My saw and this tree was telling me more than what I was paying attention to. I knew what was going on, but in the same time, it's not real important where it lands. If it didn't land exactly where I wanted to, and I don't turn out to be a hero on YouTube, well, that's okay. But pay attention to what your saw is telling you when you're cutting these things. And at any given time, if you hear or see something, stop and reevaluate. I did this relatively quickly because this tree's not in danger of the road. If it falls in my garden, then I can drag it out. If it falls in my yard, it's not going to hit nothing. Safety first, okay? Well, let's wrap up the sales portion of this video by saying a special thank you to Yardmaris for sending me these awesome chaps. Little review here. We got a little tool pouch or your wallet or whatever, okay, totally enclosed. And then down the leg, this would be where your file, your bar wrench is going to go, or any other tool that you might carry. One great thing about it is, right here at the bottom, it has its own flap, and look right there. See that sawdust coming out of there? The top being open where you slide your tools in will catch debris. The Yardmaris has got that figured out. Has a nice little flap on the bottom so you can clean it out. Now, depending on your height and width, this is a large, and you see I've got 6 inches or so of tail left, and with a 42-inch waist and being about 5'11", they fit me pretty good, okay? Down here on the ankle, you see we've got a nice little bell that goes out over my shoe, all right? You kind of want that. You don't want it up there 4 inches above your ankle, okay? That's less protection. These aren't just a Cordura chap, all right? For those who don't know and don't understand, there is Kevlar batting about a 1/2 inch thick throughout this chap, top to bottom. And what that is meant to do is, if you were to ever have a kickback, have a dangerous situation where you have a running chainsaw blade next to your appendage, that Kevlar batting will pull out and ball up and stop that chain and essentially shut the saw down and prevent you from further injury, all right? It's meant to save your appendages, guys. Now, we always sign a video off by saying don't forget to wear the personal flotation devices while you're out there chasing God's critters, right? Well, this is for my hunters and foresters and land managers. If you're taking care of God's creation, make sure you take care of yourself first, all right? Thank you, Yardmaris, for sending me these, for supporting the channel. I hope you sell 1 million of them. Guys, check the link in the description below and put yourself first. We'll see you. Be safe.